Hey everyone, welcome to the final edition of the Final Down NFL podcast for this season. With me, Jim, Punk Raider, and Denver Dave. We're talking about NFL boys. How are we doing?
It's
Final
the
edition.
final countdown.
Didn't know this was the last one. We've been
Of the
binned.
season, of the
Of the
season, I said, Dave.
season.
Jesus, we're not
We've
going
got
anywhere really.
Nothing
so
happening
much,
till training camps now.
so much
Yeah.
more I wanted to say.
Well, you crack on, mate.
Yeah, you've got your time now, or during the off season, you can be writing blogs and
Those
adding
of
them
us
to the
that didn't
website.
keep taking weeks off during this season probably need a bit of a rest.
Some of
I
us
had
have been here
about-
every week,
I had
Exactly.
about 2 weeks off, I'll have you know.
and the rest.
Hang on. There seems to be a big thin-sized hole in this talking about shirkers having weeks off.
It would only be fitting that Finn would not attend the last episode of the
I
season.
know, right?
In keeping with his guest appearances. Finn apologizes. He has a good week with the draft and everything. But yeah, he won't be with us on this last one. Doesn't matter. We've still got to talk about the winners and losers of the NFL draft before we go into a cardboard box for the summer coming out for next year. Just very quickly, actually, we mentioned on the last pod about our mock draft and how good we had done about picking players for their teams. And obviously that was after night one of the draft. It's actually got better since then, Punk. So we ended up with 10 players going to their right teams.
10 in the end.
10.
Aren't we
10.
clever?
Yeah. Because
Aren't we
Cooper
clever
DeJean
people?
did go in round 2 to the Eagles. So that was the extra one we needed. We got 10. I marked this against other mock drafts as well. How do you think PFF did? These guys are the professionals. How many of the 32 teams do you think they got the right player to the right team?
7.
5.
7
I
and
reckon 7.
5. You're both
Quarterbacks.
off. You're both off. They got 3.
Oh,
3?
really? How did
The
they
only
manage
thing you have to do is
that?
get the first
First
3 and you're
three
right
would have
there.
given you
They
3.
put Drake
surely.
May going to the Commanders and Jalen Daniels going to the Broncos at 3.
What?
Wow.
So they only got Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, and Troy Furtanu, of all things, going to the Steelers. Those are the only 3 they got right in their mock draft, which was done about a day or 2 before the draft. That franchise guy, he did 5 out of 32. Ben Solak from The Ringer, he did 5 out of 32. Yahoo Sports, the day before the draft, did 6 out of 32. Draft Network, Jamie Eisner, on the night of the draft, did 8 out of 32. And then
Amateurs, the lot of them.
Field Yates from ESPN, he got 9, as well as sportingnews.com, both on the night of the draft, basically, or night before the
Phil
draft.
Yates is good. I like him.
So he
Nick
got
Wright
9.
got none. Nick Wright got none.
Did
you know that?
He did Caleb Williams at 1.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Okay, I think he did.
He didn't.
Even when you account for like how far off you were on someone's, like if you said, I think that Chuck Robinson is going at 21 and he went at 23, you've added 2 points. We were pretty good on that as well. We definitely beat sportingnews.com. We didn't beat Phil Yates though. Phil Yates was pretty good. The only one he was off on was who was it? Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think he was about a bit off on there. But other than that, everyone else is pretty good. Yeah, so we had a very good mock draft. 10 out of 32
Pat on the back
in
to
the end,
us.
going to the right team. Yep, awesome.
And do you know what's even better?
What's that?
We got 10, and most of our picks were consensus picks. So it wasn't just that, you were picking the right guys and I was picking idiot picks, and Punk was selecting yours. We were pretty unanimous on both of them.
Yeah.
All the way through. So well done to us. Pat on the back.
Well, now that all 3 days are done and we know all the rounds are in the books, we're going to have a quick round table to see who was the best and who was the worst. Now, every year, there's at least one team that nominates to be the donkey. I think we all know who that donkey was this year. I mean, usually it's the Raiders that turn up and do something donkeyish, or the
We've
Patriots.
done a few things. We've done
Yeah,
a few things
yeah.
over the years to warrant being in that category, but not this year.
What I'd like to, before we go on to the main course, how about you give me the team you think did best in the draft? Punk, let's start with, or Dave, let's start with you, Dave.
No, go on, Punk.
I've got 2. So I think there are 2 teams that really kind of hit everything they needed to hit, didn't do anything silly. Actually, I've got 3, but I'm not going to mention the third one because I don't want to boost your ego anymore.
Who's
I
ego?
think
You can do if you want to. I don't
the
mind.
Bears and the Cardinals. The Cardinals didn't do anything ridiculous with their loads of picks. They kept picking up players that fitted what they needed, that they thought were positions that would help them now, rather than in 2 or 3 years' time in the next cycle. So I really like what they did, but I love what the Bears did. I think we called it on the mock draft actually. Getting Williams and Dunze. I think that Bears team is in a position now where, for the first time in a long time, they're actually going to play some offensive ball. So yeah, they're the two that I really felt like had probably done the best, shall we say? Although I did really like what the Steelers did as well, but I'm not going to say that.
You just did.
No one heard it. No one heard it though, Punk. You're okay.
No one can hear me.
I think you're right. Obviously, Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze are home runs, as far as we're aware. Kieran Amadinije in round 3 is pretty good as well. The offensive tackle from Yale. Obviously, it's not a big school, but he's a big boy. Had him graded pretty well, so I think he's a good one as well. And Troy Taylor got the most yards for Iowa last season, didn't he? At punter.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
I'm not against picking a punter early.
There's nothing wrong with
fourth round.
Come on, you've got to do it. You've got to love the confidence in that.
You have, but all you got to do is just trade back to the 5th or the 6th.
No,
pick
you
up an extra pick
don't.
next
No,
year.
Don't bother.
It's daft. It's
Do
daft.
it now. Do it now. Go on. It's
I
great.
think of it like fantasy, where if you're drafting the kicker at the very end, you don't draft a skill player after you've drafted a kicker or a punter.
Oh, I don't bother drafting kickers in fantasy. I just stream them every week.
Well,
I mean, you're a Raiders fan. You don't bother drafting skill players either. It's just
Took the best skill player on the board.
Lines.
What's wrong with you?
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Look. Okay. So, Bears, yes. And then Cardinals as well. They had a lot of picks. I mean, it was hard not to hit on some players, wasn't it, I suppose, in the end?
Yeah, I mean, time will, like all of this, it's pinch of salt because, at the end of the day, you don't know for the next 2-3 years if these players are going to pan out or not. But when you look at it on paper, I think the Cardinals pretty much hit everything they needed to hit. But, we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure you boys will have completely different opinions.
Well, they picked up Dave's boy.
And I'm sure you all
Jones
sat up
in round 3
and watched all 7 rounds. But,
I did. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I was playing FIFA and had it on in the background. So for the most part,
well,
that
wasn't paying attention then, was
No,
it?
it wasn't.
You haven't seen me play FIFA.
Well, actually, yeah,
It pretty much was.
Yeah, Elijah Jones, Dave, went to the Cardinals in round 3, pick 90.
Yes, I was very happy with that.
Mm.
I think Cardinals had a good draft, but I mean, the thing is, when you're picking, the only problem I've got with those 2 picks is when you're picking that
They're
high
boring
up.
and safe, I know.
Well, no, it's not that. It's when you're picking that high up, it's easy to have a good draft. When you're picking 1st and 33rd and then blah, 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 not first, but when you're picking high up like that, it's easier to have a good draft. My nominee, if you allow me to move on, is the Eagles, because I think the Eagles fulfilled every need that they had and had real intelligent punts on players.
They were on my list, to be fair.
So they signed Quinyon Mitchell, who I like. He was not my favorite. And the thing is, someone said to me yesterday, day before, why don't you like Quinyon Mitchell? I was like, I do. I really do like him. He's just not my favorite guy. He's just not my guy. So no, I think he's massively talented, and their main need was cornerback, and they picked up Quinyon Mitchell, then got Cooper DeJean in round 2.
Yeah.
Who's may well be viewed as one of the best nickelbacks in a couple of years' time in the league. Then round 3, they went and got Jelix Hunt, who's from Houston Christian, I think.
Yeah.
Now, that's a small school, and he's raw as anything. And it's almost like an FU pick to the rest of the league, because it's kind of like, look, we're just going to pick the guy that we want because we don't have a huge amount of other needs. He has the potential. His ceiling is absolutely enormous, but at the same time, it could easily fall through the floor because he's raw as anything, and is talent more than he is prospect, if that makes sense. Just pure athletic prospect. And they went and picked up, for me, who's the most, and it's hard for me to say this, the most impressive interior linebacker, Jeremiah Trotter, because he's
the
a Clemson
safest.
boy.
The safest. Not the best.
We're getting him in the 5th as well. No, I think he's safest is probably the word.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to get with him, and he's consistent.
Mm.
And from a 5th round pick, I mean, that's
Bargain.
absolute bargain. Yeah, if they'd have picked him in the third, I'd still say that's a good solid pick. And they got him in the fifth round. I mean, incredible, absolutely incredible.
Well,
So
they
yeah,
they
they've
got
come
my
out
boy
of it.
Anaya Smith as well in the fifth from Texas A&M, wide receiver that I mentioned in the draft favorites episode, and Trevor Keegan, the guard from Michigan. So a good fifth round for them all over, overall.
Well, the sixth round might be even better. They got Johnny
Yeah,
Wilson.
Johnny
Now,
Wilson
how
from
much
Florida
do you know?
State,
How much
yeah.
do you know, Punk? How much do you know about Johnny Wilson?
I know nothing about Johnny Wilson.
Right, wide receiver, 6'8".
So
He's a ham
He's
sandwich away from being a tight
absolutely
end.
yeah, I
He's
was going to say
massive. No. He's not built like a tight end. He's built like a wide receiver.
big cleats, and that's it.
He's built like a wide receiver,
he's an
and he
offensive
is
lineman.
gargantuan. There is no such. I want to see him up against like a 5'11" defensive back and just throw a jump ball up there. He is purely going to be red zone in the corner, jump up, grab the ball, get 2 feet down. And that's the thing. They're able to do that. A lot of other teams can't do that because the roster's not stacked. And because Harry Roseman's been there for 50 years and he's going to be there for another 50 years, he can draft for the future, knowing full well that they are, that he can look in that long term, which a lot of guys just can't do. Yeah, well done, Eagles.
Yeah, I've got a couple of favorites out of this draft as well. I won't mention my team because that's just a given. First one I want to mention is the
Obviously.
Colts. Taking Latu as best player available was brilliant for them. They really needed some pass rush. That's been sorely missing from the Colts for a long time. They moved up for AD Mitchell as well. They needed a wide receiver help to give Richardson some better weapons. Goncalves and Bortolini on the O-line. Very good pickups there. Gould can be a good kick return option as well. So I just liked what they did with the draft. I don't really agree with some of what Ballard was mouthing off about in between rounds. But overall, I think they hit everything they needed to do in this draft. I think it was a really good, solid draft class from the Colts. They've not always been very good at drafting. This year, I think they really did it. And another one, I've got to mention the Chiefs, just because they fleeced the Bills yet again to get Xavier Worthy.
I mean,
how
they
they get
picked
away
up a
with
guy
this.
that the Bills didn't want.
They absolutely did want.
What they wanted Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, of course they did.
I don't
They want
think
wide
they did.
receiver. Yeah.
Yes, but it doesn't mean to say that they want that wide receiver. The chances are,
He's
if
been
the
mocked several times
if the
for them.
Chiefs, and that doesn't mean anything.
Just saying.
We've
just saying.
we sat here at the beginning of the podcast saying that everyone who mocks is an idiot apart from us.
Apart from us.
Listen, the fact is that if that conversation would have happened, they'd have been saying, "What are you interested in?" And they'd have said, "Wide receiver."
Who knows
you
what
picking?
they said to him?
But there's no way that they've traded to them and then picked the guy that they want. The fact is, picking a speed guy for Josh Allen is not the right move. You need to pick a guy who can get open, and that's what they did.
I'm still saying the Chiefs had a good move there by getting the player that they wanted. I'm talking about the Chiefs, not the Bills.
Anytime you trade with a team and get the player you want, it's a good move.
Yeah.
Whether it works out in the long run, who knows? But anytime you trade, and I mean, it'd be pretty stupid to trade and not get the player you wanted. But you know what I mean.
No, you needed, yeah.
But no, I think what the Bills have done is traded a pick, got extra currency in terms of draft picks, and still picked the guy that they want. So it's a win for the Bills as well. The only reason people are sore is because it's a headline. They like to knock the Bills, and because they traded with Kansas. And quite frankly, who cares? Because not long after, they traded with the 49ers. Another team who's in the Super Bowl. It's irrelevant.
Let's be honest. It doesn't really matter who you trade with. You can't sit there and go, "Oh no, we're definitely not going to trade with them because they're a rival and this, that." And you can't think like that. You just need to go out and get the players that you want to get.
Yeah, the only time it couldn't happen.
Worry about everybody else.
Yeah, the only time it couldn't happen is if the Broncos traded with the Raiders, knowing full well the Raiders are going to pick up the QB that the Broncos could take.
Yeah.
Because what you're then doing is sitting there going, "We're going to play this quarterback X amount of times per season. If he good, we're screwed." That's then a different matter. But trading from the Bills to Kansas, it doesn't matter.
It's just the team that takes them out of the postseason every time.
Exactly.
Right.
And if you're going to say to them, "You're going to pick a guy that we don't believe in," then as far as you're concerned, it's giving you an extra chance to beat them. So you're picking a guy that we don't want.
The other one I had was the Saints. One of the best tackles in the draft in Talise Fuaga. Kool-Aid in round 2 as well. They desperately needed some extra help at cornerback. My guy Rattler in the 5th. That was a no-brainer. Christian Boyd at defensive tackle in the 6th as well. I mean, I'm not a Mickey Loomis' biggest fan, as you all well know. But I've got to give him some props for this one because he turned out a really good draft considering the picks they had, where they were, and the talent available. So yeah, congrats to the New Orleans Saints. They've got a lot of issues in that building, but I think the people they brought in are the right kind of people. So yeah,
I
liking
think
those moves.
So is Rattler going to take the backup job then from Taysom Hill?
Should do. He should take the starting job pretty soon out of Derek Carr's hands. Derek, I don't know if you know this, but Derek Carr's not best loved in New Orleans, so they're crying out for a new person to go in and throw the ball.
Rattler will need to sit for a nice season, for a full season.
Maybe,
but he's a nice addition to them.
He is. So those are the two.
Picking up an offensive line help that can help protect your quarterback is only a positive. Bud Means is a nice receiver who's going to be a big downhill threat for them, and we know how much Derek Carr loves going long down the field. So fully expect Bud Means to rack up huge amounts of yards in off ball runs. So yeah, well done to him.
As long as he remembers to come back again to collect the ball because it hasn't gone.
He won't need to bother. They'll just leave him down there. He's just go long, just go long and stay long. It'll be fine.
Fair enough. Just a little mention about the Chargers. I do think they did it was kind of inevitable. It felt like through the whole draft that they were going to get much better, and they have. Sticking with Joe Alt, we thought, in our mock draft, we said they should get Malik Neighbors, but all right, they stuck with Joe Alt. It's the style of play they're going to be running. It's just, held their nerve, moved up for Lad McConkey in round 2 to make Justin Herbert more happy. Love the Junior Colson pick in round 3 as well at linebacker. I think they addressed a lot of immediate holes on that team.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think they drafted need, and I think they drafted what Harbaugh likes as well.
Yeah.
So, it's do you know what? This is one of the first drafts in ages where I haven't sat there and gone, people have had absolutely diabolical drafts. I think everyone's got 2 or 3, 4 players that are really useful to them.
Oh, we've been too kind, haven't we? We've been too kind. Let's switch it on its head.
I think the thing is with this year being effectively a lot of players' 5th years, players are more polished this year. But for the reason for that is because of the COVID year, and players are able to opt back in and basically get an extra year. And so players are coming out this year and they look more polished than they have previously. So before, you've got guys coming in who've only played 20 college games. Well, that's not happening. You've got a lot of players coming in now who have played between 30 and 40 college games. So it's harder to look at someone as being a bust because you've got more tape on them. You've got more ability to be able to see what they can and they can't do. Some of these guys are going to be bust in the same way everyone else is. But it just looks a lot more positive.
So we've been far too positive in this review session, boys. We need to talk about the ones that missed, whiffed, and just completely the bed. So let's hear it. Who are you going for?
Dallas.
Yeah, I agree.
They picked up in the second round. I can't remember who they got in the second round, but they picked up second round absolutely fine, no issues. I think it was Tyler Guyton, might have been. I can't remember, which is fine. They picked up a tackle, perfectly good. Third round. So when they picked up in the second round, they looked, and there's 4 really good running backs in this. None of them are first rounders, elite, or blah blah blah. But there's 4 really decent running backs, and all 4 of them were still on the board. By the time they come up to pick the third rounder, there's only 1 running back on the board, and they don't have a running back at the moment. It's so bad at the moment. They're speaking to Zeke. That's back. How bad it is in Dallas.
He's back.
Is he back now?
1-year deal.
Christ. Is he playing center or is he actually playing running back this year?
Be center. Yeah, he did pretty well last time.
So there's 1 running back on the board, and it's just like, dude, just take him. And they didn't. They took Cooper Bebe instead. And
it's a good
pick.
Running
back went, the running back went the next pick. And it's like, come on. Now they just don't have a running back. They've got no options. And we've seen with Dak Prescott as well. When his running back runs over 100 yards, he wins 75% of the time. When he runs under 100 yards, he wins 25% of the time. I mean, that's not good.
No.
That's really not good. So he needs a good running back. He needs a good run game. With the offensive line getting weaker, which it inevitably will be. I mean, bringing in rookies doesn't work straight away on the offensive line.
No.
And having a running back who's had over 2,000 snaps, 2,000 carries in the NFL, it's not a recipe for success.
No, Guyton's not good enough to come in right away and
Tyler Guyton's,
be an
I've got real
improvement in
concerns
any way.
about him.
Yeah, exactly. He gets beaten on the inside.
And the outside and over and under. It's like going on a beer
he's gonna be their starting left tackle, and that is a scary proposition. So I don't know about this one. And also you had, what was it? Van Der Esch retired, didn't he? In the off season, they brought in Eric Kendricks, who is as old as balls, and they've only drafted Maris Lafau from Notre Dame in the 3rd round.
Yeah,
it's just like the positions of need you really needed to address, you have not addressed.
They need every single one of their picks to hit. Simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, Caden Carson wasn't bad, cornerback from Wake Forest, but again, it's Wake Forest, so there's a big unknown, a big question mark over how he's going to compete at the next level.
So Kalen Carter there was a video of Drake May absolutely tearing into shreds because they were in the same division. So again, you don't really know what you're getting with an ACC corner because you only play 2 decent teams a year.
Yeah. How about you then, Punk? Who are you picking out for your worst draft performance?
I think there's a couple of picks themselves that are the worst performance. I think overall you've hit it on the head. I think Dallas is the one that you kind of look at and go, there's absolutely nothing that they've done that is going to help them next season, and they're just going to go backwards. But I think there are a couple of individual picks and a couple of just general decisions that were really bad. I mean, we skirted around it, but there is no way we cannot talk about the Atlanta Falcons picking Michael Penix at number 8. That's just, it's insanity. I know we mentioned it briefly on our day after podcast, but I just don't get what they were thinking there. I mean, he's going to have to sit for 2 years just for the amount of money they're paying Cousins anyway. He's 104 now, so he's going to be 227 by the time he actually does anything. I just don't get what the thinking is there. The other one is Bo Nix. I think that was a massive overdraft at 12.
He was, yeah. It's a 3rd rounder.
It's like, how desperate do you want to be for a quarterback? I'm sure that you could have found an undrafted free agent out there that would have done the job just as well.
Keep talking.
But I think overall, seeing as the Cowboys have been taken, I did not like what the Titans did particularly, and I did not like what the Panthers did particularly either.
Okay.
Panthers are in a difficult spot because they're not picking first overall.
I'm
not going to address the next thing, by the way. I think you're idiotic for that. But...
you can have that one. No, I think Carolina.
I'm siding with Punk.
They just didn't take players that you look at and go.
I think it was fine because they addressed needs. Well, the players you look at and go, but they addressed the need.
Yeah, but if I want to help my I know we've done a lot of free agency work on the line and so on and so forth. But if I really want to help my quarterback, I want pass catchers. I'm not worried about crazy legs guys that can run after the catch and this, that, and the other. Just move the sticks. You know what I mean?
So they Xavier Legette at the end of round 1, super solid. I love that guy. Jonathan Brooks, the best consensus best running back in the draft in round 2.
But why do you need a running back? You've got Miles.
Miles Sanders
Hubbard and come on, not with. No, I'm not having that.
He was rubbish last season.
No. I'm talking about drafting in Brooks.
Yeah,
I don't see the point in drafting in Brooks when you've already got Sanders and Hubbard, unless you've got rid of one of them, or you're going to get rid of one of them. So we'll see what happens. Then there's so many other things you could do to help your young quarterback that you absolutely hung out to dry last year, rather than getting a running back.
They're a safety valve, the same as Jatavion Sanders in round 4 as the second best.
This is the thing.
Didn't like it, man.
Sanders is not really a tight end. He's a slot receiver. He can't really block. He couldn't block in college. He's not going to block in the NFL. So think of him more of as a receiver. So what they did is brought in a running back and 2 receivers to help him. I think the biggest problem for the Panthers is the fact that on their line, they're not down and dirty. They're not dominant. If they play the Chargers this year, the Chargers could run it up to 50 because by the end of the second quarter, they're going to be absolutely shagged on both lines, and they're just going to get dominated by bigger men.
And their defense is going to get pulled apart as well. I know they might not have been up in the top echelons of the first round, but where they were picking early second, late first, there were decent edge rushers on the board.
Yeah.
There were decent cornerbacks there. They just had to go and take them. I just didn't like what they did. I think they probably have helped their team a bit, but I think they could have done more, even though they had small amount of capital to start with.
Do you know what's even more shocking? If we go back 3 years, 4 years, whatever it would be, they did an entire draft on defense.
Yeah.
And
we
all of those
said it
players
was
now
good
should be
defense.
coming into their prime.
Well,
And you look at their defense and it's absolute
They-
dross.
they've also given away a load of their better players.
Yeah.
Burns is now at the Giants. It's
Yeah.
it's one of those. It's one of those weird tales of they built up one side of the ball and should have just, had 2 years of building up the other side, and they just never did it.
Talking about the Panthers, have you seen the video of Tepper going into the restaurant?
Yeah. Well, he's just chatting
Have
to
you seen this
someone.
one?
It could have been worse.
He walked into a restaurant and there's a sign up saying, let the coach and the scouts pick the team, and he has a
The
nod and
GM.
he walks out.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
I think they could have been a lot worse. I liked the skill positions they picked up there, those 3 players. It's going to take a long time to turn around that ship in Carolina.
I agree, and I partly agree with Punk in the fact that you do that by picking up defensive players that are going to give you a base.
Yeah.
But at the same time, sell a couple of tickets, and if you're going to go for blowouts, go for it and just pick up the best skill players you've got. Be exciting if you're going to be dumb and you're going to be tough, be exciting and just pick up the best skill players you can.
Punk mentioned the Titans. I want to jump on that. I mean, they drafted a guard at 7 overall, as far as I'm concerned, which is far too high for a guard unless you're picking up Quentin Nelson. They took a middle linebacker that's allergic to offensive linemen, deep threat receiver from Tulane. I mean, what league do you think you're in? Apart from T'Vondre Sweat, who is one of my guys, who they kind of overdrafted because I'm pretty sure he would have fallen down a bit further than where he was taken. I mean, that's the only
T'Vondre
upside pick
Sweat's
I can
a
see.
rough one.
He is a space invader. I love him, but other than that, I mean, the Titans.
Forget about the on the field. It's the off the field you need to worry about. Punk, you know about this.
One thing.
No, not one thing. Not one thing at all.
Yeah.
He likes a drink, right? And the day I shrug my shoulders at that.
Nothing wrong with that.
A few people do. And the day of his pro meeting with the Titans, he gets pulled over during the day.
Yes, they mentioned this on the coverage. I do remember it now.
Absolutely off his tits. On the day of his visit. No, he was over the limit by 20%. But he's a big guy. For him to be over the limit, it's not a couple of shandies. He then turns up and he's honest with them, so fair play to him. That's great. But he's going to Tennessee. He's going to a place which is the party town of America only after Las Vegas. It's the place you want to go to get drunk and have a good time. It is probably not a good place for him to go to right now if he's a bit of a drinker. Send him to Utah for it.
Perfect character.
It's a bit of a risky one for me.
My big problem with this is that this isn't a draft that's serious if you're going to compete in the AFC South. The Houston Texans are now light years ahead of
it's not serious.
This team. Well, no, they're now light years behind the Houston Texans. The Indianapolis Colts are right behind them if Richardson stays healthy for this season and the moves they've made. The Jags, well, I think they've had a poor draft. I think they're moving backwards, but the Titans are rock bottom.
Jags are still way better.
And what they've done here is a joke as far as I'm concerned. This doesn't move the needle at all. They're still sliding down in the mud.
And that's with a new head coach as well.
He's
going to have to do a hell of a job to get that team together.
Oh, no chance. No chance.
They've addressed one need at least, bringing in a guy that they believe can be a tackle. But JC Latham, whether he plays at tackle or whether he dips inside to play guard, who knows?
But you've drafted him 7th overall, and there were offensive tackles there, stud players that you could have put there, and they're a tackle. I don't know he's a tackle. We had him going at the end of the first round in our mock draft.
I said I'm not even sure he went. Did he in ours?
He did. I think he went very, very towards the end, despite my protestations. I was the first person saying that I'm not a fan of his whatsoever, because there was numerous times you see So you think of Fuaga. Okay, I'm going to use Fuaga as a example. You know when in college a player sets his feet, not necessarily to the ground, but sets his feet as in terms of movement. This is my zone. This is my little semicircle that I'm going to be moving on, and a player doesn't get pushed backwards in college. When they come to the NFL, that player gets pushed backwards because the players you're playing are so much better. And Latham's feet were all over. They're backwards and forwards. It's like in a line in foot. It's like in a wall in football. The player's moving forward to try and get a few yards, and it's just a bit too scattergunny for me. I don't think it translates. I really don't. If you put him outside, isolated with Max Crosby or TJ Watt or someone like that, it's madness how much you'll get torched. It really is. I don't think you can play him at left tackle. I don't think you can play him at left guard either. I think you're going to have to put him on ball because when he gets beaten, your quarterback can at least see the man coming towards him.
I'm not sure they've
So-
got any choice, to be honest.
That's the problem. They've not got any choice.
Andre
It's just-
Dillard at left tackle at the moment and Chris Hubbard at right tackle.
Andre Dillard, he's the former Eagles guy, right?
Yes. And
He
Peter
was
Skronsky is
no
your
good
left
at the
guard, so
Eagles.
that's all right.
Skronsky's fine. He's all right.
Daniel Brunskill at right guard.
Who?
Daniel Brunskill. Exactly.
Ah, bless you.
Or we got Nicholas Littlebro as the depth piece at tackle. But yeah, they've
Wow.
drafted him at 7. You've got to play him at tackle.
I mean, you haven't got to.
You
It's only a
kinda
couple of years
do.
ago, the Titans picked up, and I forget his name because he's not in the league anymore, but they picked him up in the first round. And 3 days later, he was filmed standing on top of a car with a bottle of Cristal in his hand, singing at the
Isaiah
top of his
Wilson.
voice. That's the lad, and they cut him within a couple of weeks. Oh no, they traded
yeah.
him to the Dolphins for a 5th.
He didn't go.
And the Dolphins went, "What is this?" and then cut him like 2 weeks later.
Anyway, enough of Isaiah Wilson flashbacks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, Titans, Jags, Vikings as well for me. Just got a little mention on the Vikings. I mean, they took a flyer on McCarthy, fine. He might work out. You never know with a quarterback, especially one that didn't do as much as McCarthy didn't do. But they moved up for Dallas Turner, really kind of nuked the rest of their draft because they didn't pick until round 4. And next year's even worse because next year they've got a first rounder and then nothing till the 5th. So to move up for Dallas Turner, was that worth it? I don't know. They used up a lot of draft capital to move up for McCarthy and then for Dallas.
I mean, we had Dallas Turner as a top 10 pick.
Yeah,
So-
I like
Yeah.
Dennis Turner, and
I think-
he's in that defense with
I think
Brian Flores' scheme as well. So I think
yeah, and
it's,
it's a position of need. You know, they lost Hunter, so you know, I
I just
don't
don't like the
hate
rest
it.
of their draft after that. You know,
I agree. You know, they're going to struggle drafting next year, and you know, we'll see what happens. But I don't hate the two big picks that they made.
yeah, I think it's fine. They identified the guys that they want and got 2 top 10 consensus picks.
Mm.
I think it's fine.
we better talk about our teams then before we go. Shall we start? Should we start with you, Punk? Because it might not
Start
take
with me,
very
by
long.
all means. I mean, obviously, we have had the greatest draft since sliced bread.
For you.
I think there's one there that I think possibly could be a little bit of a reach.
Oh yeah,
Obviously, you know, DJ Glaze
Delmar
seems
Glaze.
to be
DeMar.
Delmar.
whatever. I'm calling him DJ.
Yeah.
He's DJ. So barbecue glaze is just I don't know, man. He seems to be. I don't know a huge amount about him. He might be great. The one upside that I do see to him is that he's projected as being able to play anywhere on the offensive line, pretty much. So give him a good training camp, etc., etc. I'm sure he'll be a good utility player. But I'd rather have had a plug and play starter in round
Mhm.
3. I mean, if I'm brutally honest, if you haven't got plug and play starters in the first 3, then yeah, not
Well,
sure.
Glaze was a
Um,
4th round pick, I think. I don't.
No,
Was it
I
third?
he was third. We took him in
Was
round
it
3.
third?
Yeah.
I didn't mind it too much because what you've got is you picked up Jackson Powers Johnson, who can play centre or
That
guard.
I think
Mhm.
might be our best
and
pick.
and you've picked up I'll call him DJ. You've picked him up and he can play anywhere across the line. That effectively is freeing up a roster spot,
Yeah,
which
which
is
is
key.
why I don't hate it.
If he's good enough.
But
Yeah.
that's exactly it. He's got to be good enough to be able to play anywhere across the line.
He's got to be good
Right.
enough to back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
But
if you're signing a third or fourth round offensive tackle. You're doing that for him to develop. No third or fourth round defensive offensive tackle is gonna start.
I
Shouldn't
love
start.
the one.
So that
The
means your
one.
offensive line is already horrendous. So
Yeah, which it isn't. We already know
no,
that. The one thing I did like about this draft more than anything for us, obviously, is apart from that one pick, not reaching for players. We didn't take some weird and wonderful speedster wide receiver that should have been drafted in the third round as a first rounder or anything like that. I think going best player available with Brock Bowers, I think the fact that he was there and we weren't going to get a quarterback, just take him, you know. The lad has skills. You can see that in all his tape, you know, running off the catch, breaking tackles. Yeah, even his route running looks pretty good. So I'm quite happy with that one. I'm really, really happy with the Jackson Powers Johnson pick. We had him going mid first round, mid to
We took him to the
late first
Steelers,
round, I
round
think.
20. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, you know, picking him up second, I know it's early second, well, mid second, I suppose. After that, I'm getting a bit wishy-washy with him. I know
Yeah.
you, Dave, texted me and said Tommy Eichenberg I really like as a
yeah.
linebacker. He's one of those kind of players that you think I'll enjoy watching, so it'd be good to see him.
Yeah, he's a spear. His brother plays for Miami, so I'm quite looking forward to if you guys play Miami this
Oh,
season. You can
okay.
have
Liam.
one against
Eichenberg.
each
Yeah,
other.
I knew the
Liam
name.
Eichenberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He remind this is ridiculous and ignore it to a certain degree, but you're going to get what I mean. He's an Urlacher. He's just
Yeah.
a cannonball, nowhere near as good. But
Just a
that's
tackle machine.
yeah, that's what he
Yeah.
is. He's just
Cool.
a man loose. I mean, the problem is if a player slips him, which will happen in the NFL, you'll get 30, 40 yards on him.
Yeah.
But when he does hit someone, there's a good chance he's going to hit a fumble out of them. So he's going to be a good complementary piece in the defensive line.
I've seen a little bit of tape on Trey Taylor as well, who was our 7th round pick. They've got him down as a
Nothing of him.
safety. He didn't look like a safety to me. He looked a bit slight, so I would be putting him on a steak and Guinness and weight room diet. But yeah, he certainly can tackle and can hit. I just worry about his size. I suppose the only thing we really didn't address in this draft, other than the quarterback, which I said going in, is not the end of the world because we've got Gardner Minshew, we've got Aiden O'Connell. They're not complete rookies. They're good bridge players. Is cornerback. So I've got a funny feeling we might be dipping into that free agent cornerback market that's still quite rich at the minute.
So the
doing
Raiders have
something, yeah.
signed 1 million undrafted free agents.
Oh yeah, no, we have. We've signed absolutely loads.
Yes,
of them,
a lot. You and the Chargers have signed 100,000 of them. So it's you can only take a certain amount through to campaign away. So it kind of doesn't matter. But you're getting your pick of them already. So they'll come to voluntary camp and they'll all work out for an extra sort of 40 odd places or so.
So we'll see how that all pans out. But I do think you'll see us because we've still got quite a lot of cap space. So I think you'll see us go back in for, I don't know,
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
Michael Penix at this rate.
I don't want Kirk Cousins.
You never know. Well,
I'm not going in for Penix either. I think I'd rather.
Sorry, I was only going to say I picked up you picked up Brock Bowers, which a lot of people didn't get. So I had a quick look at Luke Getsy, who's your new offensive coordinator, and what he was doing last season. And he basically played 21-man personnel, so 1 back, 2 tight ends, more than almost any other team. He was 7th overall last season and is 5th overall in the past 2 seasons in terms of scheming up playing 12-man personnel. So it's more likely you're just going to go with 2 wide receivers.
It makes sense to do that as well with the quarterbacks that we've got.
And you're going to be able to transition really easily from a 2 wide receiver set into a 3 by pulling either Mayer or Bowers out into a slot position. So
exactly. No, I get it. I get why they did it, and you know, it was just nice to have a draft where we weren't sitting there holding our head in our hand after every pick, going, "Where the hell have you found that from?"
I'm
quite happy.
I think it's good we've done it in the 3rd. Yeah.
One question:
Congratulations.
Who's your running back at the moment? Because whoever he is, he's going to need to be able to block.
We've got Alex Mattison, Zahir White, and we picked up was it Doob?
Aaron Jones?
Doob.
Aaron Jones.
No, we
Yeah.
haven't got Aaron
Packers.
Jones. No,
Did
he
we
go to you?
Josh Jacobs. No, Josh Jacobs went to the Packers.
He went the other way.
Yeah,
We've
but I
got
thought it was
Zahir
Watford.
White. We've got Alex Mattison from the Vikings, and then the guy we drafted. We've got someone else as well, but I can't think off the top of my head who it is.
Okay.
Oh,
Interesting.
yeah,
yes,
Zamir
I
White's
would
your top
say
running back.
You got
over
pieces.
we've yeah, I'd say running back is probably a little bit light if I'm honest, but I think when, like I said a few weeks ago when we picked up Mattison, if he can recapture some form, he's a half decent running back. So I think he'll be more running back by committee rather than
Yeah.
one of them. But we'll see how that pans out.
Just before we jump onto the Broncos, let's do Finn's Seahawks quickly. I've got some notes from him. Very short, but overall, really happy with the draft. We picked up players in positions of need. Good to see the lines being strengthened and that gaps left from the free agency have been filled. I need to see more of the players that we drafted in low rounds, but early signs are positive, and good to see the organisation knows where the problems are and doing what we can to fix them. So yeah, Finn's fairly happy with what the Seahawks have done. Can't say I blame him.
I
Byron
describe the
Murphy, we
Seahawks
thought they
as
were going to take in our mock draft, so we nailed that. Christian Haynes, a guard from UConn, another good pickup there. Tyrese Knight, that was a run killer at linebacker. And then DJ James, I think, is probably the good late pick for them. Not just the other corner at Auburn, because they picked another corner at Auburn in round 5, but he might be better as well. I really like DJ James.
I would refer to their class as quiet but efficient.
Usually what they do.
Picked the players that they need.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's
the Seahawks. I think they've done pretty well in that draft. Yeah. So let's talk about the Broncos. Sorry, the Broncos.
Idiot. I'm happy with what we've done.
I know
we
you
picked up
are,
Bo
Dave, because
Nix.
you've drunk the Bo Nix Kool-Aid. So
Well, it's not just about Bo Nix. Listen, I've said
It
with
is.
Bo Nix, once you're in a position where 5 of the 6 consensus top quarterbacks have gone, there's only one left, and the Broncos don't know what the Raiders are going to do. We don't know if they're going to select a quarterback or not, and we can't just go, okay, we're going to trade down and hope no one takes a guy. We can't go into a season with just Stidham. We can't do that.
That's what I was saying in the other pod though, was that the Falcons really screwed everybody up by taking Penix, because it kind of threw everybody off for a couple of picks.
Yes, and the thing I said in the last pod still stands. The second that they picked up Penix, it's like, okay, the Broncos have to take Bo Nix at 12. It's as simple as that. We couldn't let him slide. Is it a reach? Maybe. But the only reason it's
Definitely.
a reach is because a lot of people think he could have been, end of the first round. Some people even see him second. Some fools are saying third. But the fact is, we've got a quarterback, and it's hope. That's the main thing. Every team who's picked up a quarterback in the first round, all of the 6, I'm not counting Rattler because he's not going to play for however long. All of those teams have now got hope that you're going to be good. Of the 6, one's really going to work. We don't necessarily know which one it's going to be because, Chicago have never had a good quarterback, and what's saying it's going to happen now.
Nothing wrong with Rex Grossman.
Indeed. Point proven.
I'm staying quiet.
So one of them's going to be really good. You're going to get 2 starters, and then the rest of them are going to be, backups and busts. And you just have to hope that you've got the guy that you think is going to be successful.
It's not always that way, Dave. It's not always that way.
Most of the time it is. Most of the time it is.
So in your opinion, who starts the season? Is it Wilson? Is it Nix?
I don't think Wilson does. I think Wilson's there as a piece of. I think at the moment Stidham's in pole position. The only reason being, because
no, I'm not criticizing it.
But Bo Nix has not taken a single snap in training yet. He may well come in and struggle to sort of get to grips with the system, because Sean Payton's system is incredibly complex. There's no getting around it. It is a complex system to get to know. And listen, what am I expecting from this season? I'm not expecting playoffs. I'm expecting hopefully a few flashes to say that it's been the right pick to make. A couple of good games, a couple of good wins, maybe. And if we come to the end of the season and I'm like, yeah, I'm happy with what Bo Nix has shown. At some point next season, he will come in. At some point next season, and it might be better for him to sit. So I'm not overly concerned as to who starts, to be honest. It's a development season. I think
developing.
that's where we are.
My worry, Dave, is that you've just drafted Kenny Pickett, basically.
Okay. You're allowed to have that opinion.
Well,
I disagree
I
with you
don't
entirely,
see
but you're allowed to
a
have that opinion.
pathway for you ever winning that division. Not with the other teams in there.
So what do we
That's
do?
not. I'm
Just
not
stick
trying
with
to be.
Stidham
I'm
then?
not trying to be deliberately
No, no, no,
negative
no,
on
no.
Bo Nix. I'm just.
That's
I'm trying
fine.
to.
I mean,
sometimes it's
okay,
bad
so-
to be. It's good to be bad because then you get someone truly good. And I think that what you've done is
so
5 quarterbacks
So
have
what do we
gone
do then?
before you,
If-
and you've still just drafted the quarterback because you've bought into it to say that he's actually decent enough to be better than Jarrett Stidham. I mean,
okay, so we're sitting at 12 and Bo Nix is on the board still. What do we do
Yeah.
in your case? What do we do?
well, potentially, if you're thinking long term, you want to be tanking this season, so you're actually better for the next one.
So
'Cause you're
you
not in
want
the
us
right
to tank an
position.
entire season
Yeah, why
to
not?
pick up a QB next year when there's
Yeah.
only really 2 good quarterbacks next year. So we're going to have to properly tank it.
You can do that.
I'm sure we probably could with Stidham starting. Or what we could do
Or
is
Danucci.
see the guy
You
that
put yourself into
we've
that position. Unfortunately, you've put yourself into this box now where Sean Payton has to work because you've given up a high draft pick to go and get him in the first place. He's come in, nuked the relationship with your 9-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl winning quarterback, and kicked him out the
yes,
door.
which we were
while you're
perfectly
still-
happy for that to happen.
You can
by the
say
way.
that, Dave, but you're still paying
We
the
can
majority of his
because it's the
wages.
truth.
Well, all right, but he wasn't that bad either. So
He was.
he wasn't. And so what you've
He
done
was.
is you've now brought in a guy that is just a guy at quarterback. He's not a guy that's going to take the top off an offense. And you're going to be in the same position at the end of the next season. I think that Sean Payton loves to blame everyone else but himself. The more I watch this guy, the less I like Sean Payton. So this just falls into a massive pit for me, for you and the Broncos. I don't want to see it. I want to see you guys be competitive. And I think this is
Well,
the
that's
wrong
not true.
moves that are being made. What do
I
you mean
don't.
that's not true?
That's not true.
Of course it is.
Listen, there's certain organizations that you don't like. Everyone knows this. The
Oh, that's
Giants
not
is one
fair.
of them. The Broncos.
I like
You
the Giants
started this
now.
conversation by doing the silly thing of going, the Broncos, like it's funny. I mean, the fact is, he calls us the donkeys. I don't mind that. I like donkeys. I think they're amazing animals. Listen, you don't like the Broncos. I'm perfectly happy and comfortable with
I
that.
don't like certain
And you
people.
dress it up. You dress it up in this, this thing of, how long have you been saying that Russell Wilson's garbage?
See, he's got hurt.
And now he's at the Steelers. He's fantastic. He's garbage.
I mean,
man.
When did I say he was
is
garbage
Jim.
at the Broncos? I think it was garbage at the Broncos.
You
Most
spent
of last
years
season,
doing that.
and
No,
Yeah,
he was
exactly.
padding his stats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this
Didn't
Jim,
mean he was
I can't
bad.
take anything
I
you
was
say
watching
about
truly
Denver
bad
seriously. I'm
over
sorry,
at my
man.
place. I had Kenny
Yeah, no,
Pickett
you're
throwing
right.
the ball.
Bo Nix
Mitch
is rubbish.
Trubisky. I didn't say.
Move
Did I say?
on.
Punk, did I say that Bo Nix was rubbish? Did anyone say Bo Nix was rubbish?
No,
Okay,
no,
did you
no
use
one
the
in
term
too many-
rubbish? No. Have you said he's just a guy
He's just a
and we're never
guy.
going to win the division? There's no pathway.
Yeah.
Yes, you did that.
That
Is
doesn't
that
mean he's
another way of
rubbish.
saying that you're rubbish?
That doesn't.
That's
You
You're
have
saying
to be
he's
a
probably
unicorn.
not of the quality that
Yeah.
you would require
Is he as
in
good as
order
Justin
to win the
Herbert?
division with everybody else in there.
Is he as good as Justin Herbert?
Okay.
Is he as good as Patrick Mahomes?
I mean,
Will he
let's
ever
put
be
this-
that
as good
good?
as Gardner Minshew?
But
Yeah, is he
let's
as good as
also
Gardner
look
Minshew?
at
Is that what you've
So-
drafted?
your opinion of him is that he's not very good. Your opinion of Justin
No, I didn't
Herbert
say
when he
that.
was in the draft was that he's not very good either. So
That's very true.
you have to excuse me.
That was
if I take it
Oregon's
with a
fault.
little pinch of
That was
salt.
Oregon's fault, and you know it as well. You saw that Oregon tape.
Oh,
Whatever.
where does Bo Nix play again? Is
Okay,
that Oregon?
enough of Bo Nix.
Might be
You also
Oregon's fault
didn't-
then.
You picked up a couple of receivers as well, didn't you?
Yes. So
Hmm.
third round, we signed Jonah Ellis, who looks like a big power rusher from the edge. So I think he looks extremely positive.
He's
Good
decent.
highlights package. Wasn't massively familiar with him, but it seems pretty impressive from what we've got. Then we picked up Troy Franklin, who was the wide receiver from Oregon. So hopefully he's not ruined by Oregon as well. He was Bo Nix's wide receiver. And then we brought in Chris Abrams-Drain, who's a cornerback, should hopefully be starting. Got him in the fifth. I don't know how we got him in the fifth. But should be hopefully very good. Which if slot corner, that means he'll play very well opposite PS2. So it's absolutely fine. By the way, a lot of people had Troy Franklin early second round, and we got him fourth. So a lot of positives there. And then we got Audric Estime, who's a running back, and he's absolutely massive. He's a tank. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to watching him play.
Great
He's,
pickup.
yeah, no, I really like him. I think if you're looking at stats, loads of people on Twitter, it was hilarious. Loads of people on Twitter were basically saying, "Oh my God, he was the slowest out of all the running backs," which is true. Statistically, he was. I think he ran a 4.6 or 4.7. Have you seen the size of him? If you really tried hard enough, you could probably convert him to an offensive lineman. He's massive. So he's not going to be a fast runner, but he's there basically as a power back, so it's fine. And then we picked up Devon Vale, he's a wide receiver who converts tight end, and then we picked up a lineman in round 7. I think it was second from last or something. So yeah, we're perfectly happy with that. It addressed all of our needs.
Well,
ish.
Well, what else were we looking for?
Edge rusher?
Yeah, 3rd round.
Is he though?
What?
Is he
Edge rusher?
an edge rusher?
He's a
Generellis.
decent pass rusher,
Well,
yeah.
He rushes off the edge, so by definition, he's an
Yes.
edge rusher.
Well, no,
He is.
I'm just looking at him, and I'm kind of like, doesn't look that way to me. But we'll see. We'll see how he pans out.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not as though we don't already have anyone on the edge. So we've already got three or four decent
True.
edge rushers.
Well,
So it's having that complementary piece who's going to come in.
maybe we'll see.
I like the Troy
The thing
Franklin
that I would
pickup.
have liked would be an interior linebacker. I would have liked, but we've picked up 2 or 3 in undrafted free agency, so I'm not too concerned with that.
Yeah. And last but absolutely not least, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Done it again, boys.
Right, time to go.
Done it
Thanks.
again.
Because obviously anything the Steelers do is fantastic.
Always.
Including
Always.
picking up Russell Wilson, who's always been brilliant,
Pick-
by the way, and Jim's never criticised him.
Pick a hole in that draft class then, Dave.
I think they've just gone for names, if I'm honest.
I mean,
picked up
you're
2 more
right.
Wilsons.
Well, for
All
names.
the
straight
players
away.
do have names.
It's like,
Yes.
come on. You can't pick up 2 more Wilsons to go with your Wilson at quarterback, and that's a definite tactic, without a doubt. I mean, Peyton Wilson sounds like a complete injury waiting to happen.
Well, he is.
So I'm not convinced that's a great pickup, but we'll see.
So
you might get 10 minutes out of it.
He tore his ACL twice in the same knee.
Yes,
and
now no longer has any.
He doesn't have an ACL.
Can't tear it again, boys. Can't tear it again.
Well,
yeah, bone on bone tends not to last for
no,
too long.
It's not. It's not. That saying he can't tear it again, that's the argument of an idiot. What basically happens is they have to take. I don't know, never know with you. That's the problem.
Of course, it was a joke.
They have to take a piece of cartilage from a donor and basically stitch it in there and blah blah blah. And what happens is it means it takes massive amounts of stress on the rest of the knee, and if something goes again, it can be a massive risk. If you can keep him fit and you can keep him on the field, especially with his shoulder issues as well, which linebackers and shoulder issues don't go well. If you can keep him fit, I think you've got a really good pick, but it's a big if. It's a real big if.
It's fine. We take these injury risks.
Of course it is, because it's the Steelers and everything the Steelers do is great.
He's the best middle linebacker in the draft. He is.
By miles, Jim.
Talent-wise, he is.
I'm surprised he didn't go in the top 10, to be perfectly honest. He's that good.
He was mocked in the first round by PFF, I believe it was.
Yeah, and PFF, as we've already established, they're really good at mock drafting.
They are.
They got 3.
They're the professionals.
Yeah.
I mean, glad we've jumped straight down to the 3rd round pick, but I mean, Peyton Wilson was an absolute steal there. Troy Fautanu, just waited for him and he came. Wasn't expecting to be there, but thank you very much. I think between that, I wanted a centre before the draft happened, but a tackle is more valuable. So he'll be a right tackle. Broderick Jones move over to left. And then we got Zach Frazier, the toughest son of a in the draft. Broke his leg in the game and walked off.
That's not true.
He absolutely is. What do you mean it's not true? He fractured his fibula.
Yeah, great. Have you seen him play?
Yeah. He's probably the best centre in the draft. So took him in round 2.
If he
round
was the
3,
best centre in the draft, why did you want Jackson Powers-Johnson in round 1?
Well, I hadn't really. Well, because.
And now you don't want him because
I'm
now
not
he
sure
plays for the
Jackson
Raiders and
Powers-Johnson
you're
was the best
Saturday.
centre. No, I just don't think Jackson Powers-Johnson was the best centre. I think he's a better guard. His snap wasn't perfect. I was hoping to work on that.
Still,
I mean,
you
know,
don't one in the NFLs if you watch the Pro Bowl game.
You know, though,
exactly.
that all of these centres none of the guys behind them are playing under centre. It's mostly out of shotgun. So how can your snap not be any good? Because all you've literally got to do is just flip the ball out of your hand.
You'd be amazed. how bad it is throwing shotgun.
We'll see
Roman
next
Wilson,
season.
48 touches last year, and 12 of them were touchdowns. So that's not bad. Peyton Wilson we just mentioned.
Needs to
Mason
get involved a
McCormick,
bit more.
Well,
great pulling
Roman
guard.
Roman
go
Wilson
back to Roman.
is okay. I'm
Go on.
cool. Skip on.
Go
Skip
on.
on.
No,
then.
go on.
Don't
Talk
worry.
about Roman Wilson.
He's tiny. He's
So how he's
very, very
terrible?
small.
Yeah, okay. He doesn't look
Okay.
doesn't look small at all. What's his size?
So he's not small.
What's his size?
He's what 6'1", but he's small. He's not a big guy.
He's a skinny 6'1".
He's a skinny 6'1", plays small. He's in the slot. I think he's smooth, good speed, really good speed. But I think the problem is if he gets
Jammed
Well-
on the line.
once that's the problem. It's going to be
Hands
getting
on.
past some of the
Yeah.
bigger guys, and I think he's going to be the potential for him is to be easily neutralized at the line, and him getting free is going to be an issue. He's not polished. If he was, he'd be going a lot earlier. If you can get him, if you can polish a turd, basically, I'm not saying he's a turd, but if you can get him sort of
Improve
think-
his.
improve his technique and actually get him
Technique
playing
and-
the right way, then I think
yeah.
you've got a really, really, really good player. But the fact is, he's got a lot of things that he needs to improve on. So don't be, too high on him immediately, because I just don't think he's going to get it. I mean, he's had one good season really in college. He spent 4 years at Michigan. I mean, the flip side of that is, of course, you'd never really get the ball at Michigan
No.
because McCarthy
I
never
said.
throws it. But he's had one good season, and that was 700 yards. He's played nearly 40 odd games and only got 100 receptions. So it's not. It's not a production of stats.
Smells like a punt
No.
returner to me.
I don't think he necessarily is. to
No,
be
he's a
honest.
good
You
receiver.
drafted a
just
punt
hasn't-
returner in round 3. My
He's a
God.
receiver. He's a
Listen to
receiver, but I
this.
think there's a lot of development that's needed with him. Don't expect him to be good in day one. I think what you're going to see is him pop out at sort of before Thanksgiving and have a monster game, and you'll go, "See, I told you he was good." Yes, he's good because of development that he's going to need. Right now, I'm just not sure he's there. That's the reason he was picked where he is.
That's what the summer's for. Some more depth at guard with Mason McCormick, and Logan Lee's an all right defensive tackle from Iowa, decent enough as in a 4-3 there. Ryan Watts was the kind of late round drafter that I saw. 6'3" cornerback from Texas, 208 pounds, and seems to diagnose the play really quickly. Pretty good in zone, but I liked the way he kind of knew what to do on every play. Don't know why he fell so far. I think he had a back injury, so he only played 11 games last year. But the more I've seen of this guy since the draft, I didn't know about him before the draft. The more I've watched of him, the more I've been impressed. I was kind of a bit weird that he was so far down so many draft boards. But
So am I right in saying that about a third of your draft picks are all serious injury risks?
No.
Is that what you're telling
No,
me here?
I mean every player gets injured, Punk. You should well know that. But no, he had one
Every
small
player
injury.
gets
He lost a bit
double
of time.
ACL injuries in their knee.
He plays like his hair's on fire.
Oh dear.
I don't mind to have Joel Klatt said. If I had 3 years of that production, I'd take that over 8 years of just bog standard production from someone. That's what you're going for. You're going for an elite player, and he
Because
doesn't
the
look like
problem is,
he looks like
is
he's
he
got
gonna
no
get
problems
3
when he's
years?
on the field. He might do. Yeah, why not?
You're not going to get 3 games out of it.
Oh, give
Listen,
off.
No, I agree. I agree, Jim. If you can keep him fit, it's a good pickup. It's a real good pickup. But that if is in bold and underlined, and there's no getting
It's
away
not a
from
first
that.
round pick. It's a third
It's
round.
like one of my friends is a Dallas fan. No, I know, but even
Yeah.
still, most of a roster is made up of third, fourth, and fifth round players. So saying it's a third rounder, you still want that player to have an impact
Of
and to
course,
start
but
most
you
games.
there was no one else around.
If
that
you can
would
keep
be
him
worth it.
fit, then he is going to be very good. One of my friends is a Dallas fan, and he always used to say every time Leighton Van Der Esch would tackle, you're always looking at him going, cool, okay, he's got up, that's
Got
fine.
up. Yeah.
It's always that concern. It's exactly the same concern as you have with Washington with Jonathan Allen. Dude's got arthritis in both of his shoulders.
Mhm.
I think that's part of the reason. By the way, just on a slight note, well done to Washington for their draft, because that was real good. Really, really well done, because I think they really picked up some places of need. They picked up a pass rusher on the line. His name escapes me, but he's basically Jonathan Allen light. And I think part of that is to lighten the load on Jonathan Allen, because, there's only so many slaps that you can play when you've got arthritis in your shoulders. And it's that thing of you need to look at him and just make sure that you're protecting him in the future. And if Peyton Wilson stays fit, you've got a diamond. If he doesn't, it is what it is.
You talking about Johnny Newton, by the way, for the Commanders?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
He's
Johnny
awesome.
Newton. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The
And
first four
he'll
picks were brilliant.
He'll come in. I guarantee this season, Jonathan Allen's going to be a real weapon this season. Not like a weapon like we call you a weapon. I mean, like someone who's good. But no, he's going to come in and be that third down guy who's going to dominate because Johnny Newton's going to take up a lot of his first and second down snaps.
We've been all over the place, but there we go. Those are our 4 teams as well, and our winners and losers from the draft. Before we go, because obviously this is the final one before the summer, better just say a few thanks. First of all, to everyone that did the picks this year. Shall I name them all?
Yeah,
Sure.
go on. You haven't done an injury report for a few weeks.
There
So
we go.
withdrawal symptom there.
Do you know what's going to be
Exactly.
funny? Do you know what's going to be funny next season when he's doing the injury report and he just keeps on saying Peyton Wilson?
Yeah.
Connor, the Giants fan, Ben, the Bengal, Bill, Dolphins aficionado, Patriot Paul, Aaron, another Dolphins fan, Grant, another Patriot fan. We need to stop doing that. Chief Mike, Commander Paul, Seahawk Dave, Jake, Chiefs fan, Maskell, Martin, another Jags fan, Hannah, of course, Seahawks fan, Patriot Mark, Ron, the Steeler, Big Ron, Phil did the second one, and then Josh from the Giants. All of those guys, thank you so much for coming on and doing the picks with us through the regular season. It was awesome.
Maskell, the Ravens fan, you must say.
Is he a Ravens? He's not a Ravens fan. He would not pick a side, I believe.
Yes,
Oh God.
he did. He absolutely did.
All right. They at least beat you, Dave, in the picks. So congratulations to them. And hopefully we get to hear
This is
from a lot of
true.
them next season when we do it all over again.
But
Thank you.
what you have to remember is I was miles in front by week 3, and that's what matters.
Yes, you
Is
were
it?
the pace setter by week 3.
Okay, well done.
In my
Congratulations.
world, that's what matters.
Thank you to Finn, who's sometimes here now as our kind of semi-regular host. He's here quite a lot. And thank you to you 2 boys as well. It's impossible to do it without you. So thank you for at least one of you always being here all the time. And if not you, then the other one always steps in. So thank you very much, Punk and Denver Dave.
We can't subject
Your
the
analysis.
audience
Bit
to
of
just listening
praise.
to you.
My goodness.
Well, you
My
know.
agent will be in touch about next season.
I'm his agent, and that's the worst thing about it.
And of course, thank you to everyone for listening and everything that you do in terms of like being part of what we do and interacting. Of course, next season we'll still be doing more stuff on the Patreon. We might be dropping the website to try and do more stuff on Twitch. So putting the funds where they should be. But yeah,
Or is
you can
this
always
going to
check us
be
out.
like your completely failed attempts at streaming Red Zone and talking about it and so on and so
Completely
forth?
failed
I think
attempt?
Because
that's
Monkey,
Twitch
purely-
harsh.
hated you. Twitch
Purely due
hated
to
you.
internet problems. That's what it was due to.
You think that's what it
Well,
was? Jim's
No,
usual
I think it
issue.
might be hardware
Why it takes us
issues.
2.5 hours to record an hour's podcast because Jim's internet keeps crapping out.
Well, this is getting cut.
Leave that in.
Nothing to do with my
That's the
internet.
only problem, isn't it?
No,
you know.
no.
He's
I think
editing
it might have
it.
been a hardware
Yeah,
issue.
you wouldn't believe some of the gold that gets cut out.
So until next time when we're back after the summer camps, I've been Jim. That's been Dave. Thank you very much for listening.